Good evening, everyone. This week's parsha is Parshas Pinchas, Tavshin Pei Beis. And our discussion tonight begins on Perek Chavches, chapter 28, verse 1, Pasuk 1, Pasuk Aleph, verse 1. Vayidaber Hashem el Moshe lemar, Hashem spoke to Moshe saying, Tzavis b'nei Yisrael, command the children of Israel, v'amar toleim, and say unto them, Es karbani lachmi li'ishai. Karbani, my offering, my food for my fires, l'reach nichaychi, my satisfying aroma, tishmeru, you shall keep watch, la'akrav li b'mayadoi, to offer to me in its appointed time. V'amar toleim, say to them, Zeho yisheb, this is the fire offering, asher takrivu la'Hashem, that you shall offer to God. Kavasim b'nei shana tamimim, male lambs in their first year, unblemished, Shnayim layim, 2 per day, Oila Samid, a continual Ola offering. This is a very important word, Ola Tamid, a continual offering, burnt offering. This carbon is called the carbon Tamid. The word Tamid means continual, continuous. And there was a sacrifice that was brought twice a day, every single day of the year, no matter what, even if it was Shabbos. And that offering was two lambs in their first year. As one lamb you shall perform in the morning, and the second lamb you shall do in the afternoon. A tenth of an ephah is a dry measure of the Torah. A tenth of an ephah of flour for a lemincha, for a meal offering. Kasis, that is mixed with crushed oil. Revi'as hahin, which is a quarter of a hin, which was a liquid measure. And it was a liquid measure. Oilas tamid. It's a continual offering, Ha'asuya Bahar Sinai, that was done on Mount Sinai, L'reach nechayach, for a satisfying aroma, Ishal Hashem, a fire offering to Hashem. V'niska revi'as hahin lakeves echad. There was also a libation, a quarter hin of wine for one lamb. Ba'kodesh hasechnes ha'sheicher Hashem, to be poured in the holy, a libation of hard drink for Hashem. The second lamb you shall make in the afternoon. As the morning meal offering and its libation shall you do. A fire offering for a satisfying aroma to Hashem. So this is what we call the carbon tamid, and what's brought twice a day. You bring one lamb, you bring a meal offering, a libation, and this was done twice a day, every single day of the year. And that's why it's referred to as carbon tamid, the continual offering. And this was not a personal, it wasn't a private offering. It was called a carbon sibur, as a communal offering. It was an offering brought for the entire Jewish people, again, twice a day, every single day of the year. Now, we read in Pasuk Vav in verse 6, Oilas Tamid, a continual burnt offering, Ha'asuya Bahar Sinai, that was performed at Mount Sinai. When at Mount Sinai, what are we referring to at Mount Sinai when it says that when we talk about a offering that was brought at Mount Sinai? So Rashi has two explanations. One explanation is referring to the fact that the first time the carbon tamid, the continual offering was brought, was when the Kohanim were being inaugurated into the Kahuna. The Mishkan had been constructed. The Kohanim were there training, learning what to do. And that was the first time that the carbon tamid, that this daily morning offering was brought, or daily offering was brought. So therefore, the Torah says this is a continual offering that was done at Mount Sinai. Others learn that what was done at Mount Sinai was that we know that there were offerings brought at Mount Sinai before the Torah was given. And according to some, that actually was the first communal continual offering. Others say that it didn't have that status. It was more like a olah, burnt offering that's brought when one comes to the Beis HaMikdash on one of the 3 festivals. That was the nature of that sacrifice. But either way, whether we're talking, we're either, whatever it means, whatever we're referring to, whichever burnt offering we're referring to, when the Torah says that was done at Mount Sinai, the Torah finds it important to mention that this olah that you should bring continual every day of the year is one that was like the one that was done at Mount Sinai. And the question is, why is the Torah telling us this? What importance lies in the fact that we're mentioning that this continual offering that you bring was performed at Mount Sinai? What significance does that have? So Rashi has his comment. Rashi cites comments from the Talmud that show certain halachic details that are learned from the continual offering that's brought every day to that offering that was brought at Mount Sinai. Certain details of the sacrifice. The commentary by Yosef suggests that the Torah is also trying to teach us an important ethical lesson. And that is, what the Torah is trying to tell us is that when we bring this olas tamid, when we bring this continual offering, we should be thinking about that offering that was brought at Mount Sinai. Whichever way you interpret that offering at Mount Sinai, it was a first. It was either a first in the training point of the Kohanim, or it was a first in the sense that it was the very first sacrifice brought by the Jewish people before the Torah was given. Either way, it was a first. And as a first, it carried a lot of significance in the people's hearts. People were very excited about it. People were very into it. People were very focused on the fact that now with this sacrifice, it's going to bring them closer to Hashem. There was a lot of excitement and emotion and feeling in that first sacrifice. But now we're talking about an olas tamid, a continual sacrifice. You bring it every single day, twice a day, as I said, the entire year. As time goes on and you just keep doing the same thing over and over again, it gets a bit monotonous. It becomes rote. You start losing your feeling for it. And it's just something that you just do on autopilot. And therefore, the Torah is telling us that when you bring this olas tamid, you bring this daily sacrifice, this continual sacrifice daily, remember that first sacrifice brought at Mount Sinai. Remember the excitement, the enthusiasm, the focus, the intensity. Try to remember that and bring that into your daily performance of this sacrifice, that you do it over and over again. But remember that first sacrifice, remember the excitement, remember the enthusiasm, and try to bring that into this daily sacrifice. Now, I think a very relevant and present-day example of this is putting on tefillin. You put on tefillin every single day, every morning. You take it, you put it on, you wrap it, you wear it, every day the same thing, over and over again. You know, when you first put on tefillin as a bar mitzvah boy, it's very exciting. And the excitement lasts for a while. But then you get used to it. Add to the fact that you're doing it in the morning when you're kind of tired. You're doing it before getting to work. So there's always that pressure. And it just becomes something that you come in, you say the blessing, you wrap it on, and you move, and you go on. And that much thought put into it, that much feeling put into it. That's a perfect example of something we do day in and day out, and it can become rote and monotonous. So the first thing that we have to remember, and the first attempt that we make at trying to keep things fresh and enthusiastic, is that instead of just doing it and running into it, that we find some time to contemplate what we're doing. The first thing is to stop and think about, I am now doing a mitzvah. I am now fulfilling Hashem's will. That's not something to take light. That's an amazing opportunity. And then you make the bracha. You make the blessing. A blessing is an introduction to the mitzvah. It's a chance to contemplate. Think about what we're saying. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam. Blessed are you, Hashem, our God, King of the world. Asher kiddushanu b'mitzvayisav, who has sanctified us with his mitzvahs, with his commandments. V'tzivanu, and commanded us l'haniach tefillin, to put on tefillin. What we just said is that commandments sanctify us. Commandments bring us closer to Hashem. They affect who we are. That's what mitzvahs do. And now we're going to do this mitzvah, putting on tefillin, and we're going to sanctify ourselves. We just have to think about that. If we can't think about it, at least say the bracha slowly. Don't just say it quickly, again, wrote. Say it slowly. Think about it. Think about the fact that when we're saying this blessing, we're actually thanking Hashem for the mitzvah. And then there is the idea of what we think about when we put on tefillin. There is a halacha that says we're supposed to think this, and in many shurim you find a paragraph reporting on tefillin that actually you can recite it. How we say that tefillin is zecher l'tzias Mitzrayim. It's remember the exodus from Egypt. We should remember the miracles and the wonders that Hashem performed for us when he took us out from Egypt. And he has the power above and below, in the heavens and on earth, to do with them according to his will. So you put on the tefillin and you think to yourself, these tefillin are to remember the exodus from Egypt, where we remember all the wonders and miracles Hashem did for us, which shows us that Hashem has the power above and below to do according to what he sees fit. That is some thought that we should try to put into when we put on tefillin. And when we give ourselves a chance to think about it, then we give ourselves a chance to have some feeling and some enthusiasm to the mitzvah that we do every single day and not allow it to become stale. Now, another thought about the Carbon Tamid, about the daily sacrifice, is that this past Sunday, we observed the fast of Shavasar B'Tammuz, the 17th day of Tammuz. And the Talmud in Tainus teaches us why it's a fast day. There were 5 tragic events that happened to our ancestors on the 17th of Tammuz. And the Mishnah in Tainus says, on the 17th of Tammuz, the tablets, the luchos, the tablets that Moshe brought down were shattered. That's the first thing mentioned. The second thing is the tamid, the daily offering that we've been talking about, was canceled. Stopped happening. The walls of the city were breached. That was by the first and second Beis Hamikdash, first and second temples. And Apostomus burned the Torah and placed an idol in the temple. So let's now focus on the second event mentioned as to why the 17th of Tammuz became a fast day, because it was the day that the Tamid offering was stopped. The commentary to Tiferes Yisrael writes that the canceling of the Carbon Tamid took place during the siege of Jerusalem, during the period of the first Beis Hamikdash, when the Babylonians were besieging Jerusalem. It was a siege that lasted for 3 years. On the 17th of Tammuz, the Jewish people realized there were no more lambs left to offer for the Carbon Tamid. They had no more animals to bring that daily sacrifice. And one can understand very well that the loss of this daily sacrifice, but can understand the loss, what it means. What it means that the Jewish people lost this atonement and this sacrifice that was done on their behalf twice a day, every single day, for the past hundreds and hundreds of years. One can understand the tremendous loss in that. But perhaps we can add another dimension to it. And that is that the Carbon Tamid represented the highest level of dedication and commitment. That's what it represented. It represented day in, day out, There's no day off from serving Hashem. The same way there was no day off from bringing the sacrifice, there is no day off from serving of Hashem. A constant reminder that again, there's no break from serving Hashem, no day off from that. Even when we take a break from our regular routine, it's all about refreshing our ability to continue our constant endeavor to become closer and closer to Hashem. That's what if there is a time that we take off, it's a time that we do certain things not the same way. We daven every single day, no days off from davening. And we're supposed to study Torah every single day. And there are mitzvahs that we have to do every single day. Tefillin, no days off from tefillin, except for Shabbos and Yom Tov. But even when our regular routine in some way is going to be changed, perhaps when a person's on vacation, they don't study as much Torah, but it's still all about refreshing ourselves so that we should be able to continue learning. We need a break. We need to refresh ourselves. This is all about being able to continue serving Hashem properly. And this sacrifice was a symbol of this idea of serving Hashem with constantly. It was a symbol of true commitment. Commitment means that every single day we stick to it. We're serving and striving to come closer to Hashem every single day, every single minute. That's what we're trying to do. That was the symbolism of the Carbon Tamid. But more than a symbolism, perhaps, it was actually the means by which the sacrifice was brought. And through this sacrifice, came down a flow of spiritual energy from Hashem that we should have that strength and power to have that consistent dedication to his service. We find in many works, there is this idea that through our actions, we bring down a flow of blessing and energy from Hashem that gives us the strength and the ability to do what we need to do. Our bringing of the Carbon Tamid was the means by which, when we did this constant service to Hashem, that brought down the energy to us to be able to do that. Of course, it's up to us to decide to utilize that energy, but it gave us the energy to do that. And now that the Carbon Tamid was canceled, it stopped. Not only did we lose the symbolism of true dedication and commitment, we lost that energy for it. And that's a tremendous loss. So when we read this portion of the parasha about the Carbon Tamid, and the Carbon Tamid comes up a lot. The Carbon Tamid is part of the Karbana section, the section of the sacrifice that we recite in the beginning of Shachar, the beginning of the morning service. We read this portion every Rosh Chodesh. This portion of the Torah, this reading of the Carbon Tamid, is meant to teach us. It's meant to teach us and to give us the energy that we should not allow our service to become rote, which is a lesson of the fact that the Torah says this daily sacrifice as it was performed at Sinai. It teaches us to strive to make sure that we stay enthusiastic and not let things become rote. And it also teaches us, and at some level infuses us with the energy to have a true commitment and dedication to Hashem's service, day in and day out, with freshness and enthusiasm. That's what we should strive for. And that's what this is a symbol of. Enthusiastic, daily commitment, day in, day out. Have a wonderful Shabbos.